Hi, everyone, and welcome to this Lunch with Mia, what you should know before signing the contract. My name is Patty Dorn, and I'll be your moderator for this event today. So what you should know before signing the contract if you're having repairs done on your home. Today, we have with us Angie Barnett of the Better Business Bureau. We have Dave Finneran from the Maryland Home Improvement Commission and Jeff Gross from the Maryland Insurance Administration. They're going to talk to you about tips for hiring contractors and services, red flags to look for when you're hiring a contractor. They're going to talk to you about filing complaints. And Jeff Gross from the MIA will talk about what to look for and what to think about if you are considering hiring a public adjuster. A few housekeeping rules today. Please leave your phones and computers on mute for this event. If you have questions, please put your questions in the chat box. I'll be back at the end after the presenters have all spoken to do a Q&A session at the end where I will address the questions that have been put into the chat box. As a reminder, the session is being recorded and this session will be posted on our website in a few days. So with that, I'd like to introduce our first speaker for today, Angie Barnett of the Better Business Bureau.
Thank you so much. And I really hope that after we get through with today's presentation, we won't have people filing complaints because they're going to take care of all the right things ahead before they sign contracts. But it's great to be here. And again, my name is Angie Barnett. I'm President and CEO of the Better Business Bureau of Greater Maryland. A couple of things I want to introduce to you. BBB, when I traditionally ask people about Better Business Bureau, people will always say it's the go-to place for complaints. So, and that is absolutely right. We are charged with, through our mission, to provide complaint resolution services to the public. And those services are actually at no fee or cost. You can always look up a business and check out that business before you do business with them, so you do get the complaint information. So just keep that in mind. BBB, next slide. Just a couple of things. BBB in 2021 year to date, we've served about 514 complaints in with regards to roofing contractors, 442 complaints with regards to siding, window installation, 741, gutter and gutter contractors, 641 complaints, and doors, 325. So I will say that home service complaints are probably the top 10, 15 complaints that BBB receives. We do receive about 10 to 11,000 complaints per year. And but home service, again, is one of our top categories. So it's something we always keep in mind. So the other thing we really track is scams. Now, when I mention scams are not the same as complaints, because a scam will simply be based on an individual who has encountered a scam, whether they fell for it or not, but it's not a legitimate business. Complaints are on legitimate businesses. Scams are with individuals who really, their intention is to rip off our public. So one of the things we are very aware of are scams that are designed to defraud homeowners. Frequently, the first scam we see, and that was the way it was when I came here 15 years ago, it hasn't changed, door-to-door scam artists. This is basically people who show up on your doorstep, knock on your door, and attempt to create a sense of urgency, to create an opportunity that you just can't refuse. But they are looking at you eye to eye, face to face, and they are attempting to get you to buy into their service, to hand over personal identifying information, most importantly, cash or a credit card. So the door-to-door scam artist is something we track, and this information is always reported to BBB's Scam Tracker. you as the public can access the scam tracker and look up any scams that are going on in your geographic area. We do have that tool for you. And again, that's absolutely free. But when we look at the #1 scam in home services, door to door, people posing as somebody and again, their intent is to get your money. I also want to mention a lot of times we find door-to-door scam artists are in the low income areas or communities, or maybe communities with senior citizens. They're looking at those who might be the most vulnerable to fall for the scam. Another trick we see are reduced price flyers and mailers. And I hate to say this, but this most often we see this with air duct cleaning. So we see the promotions for that, or vacuuming, cleaning your carpets, and it's going to be a low price, like $39 for a room. But in the end, people file complaints or file scam tracker reports saying, look, they charged me $100, $200, $300, $400 and more. So reduced pricing is a typical scam we see. And of course, as so many people are familiar with storm chasers, when we do have a disaster, when something does occur, storm chasers come into the community, most often not licensed by Maryland Home Improvement. They come in and they do repairs because during a storm or storm recovery, people are really emotional. They need urgent repairs, a little bit of chaos. Storm chasers are able to take advantage of our communities through that. So those are the types of scams that we see in the home service industry. So warning signs, when they come up, show on your doorstep and they say, hey, we were just in the neighborhood. We did some service for your neighbors down the street. I have my truck has supplies that were left over, surplus materials. When they give you those kinds of things, that's a warning sign. Whenever they tell you it's a limited time, I will offer this discounted price to you, but it must be now, or I only take cash only. A scammer, somebody intentionally trying to rip the public off, they're really going to create a sense of urgency. They're going to make it something you've got to act on now. They don't want you to step away and think about it, do your research. And when they say cash only or require a hefty upfront payment, those are all warning signs. And again, MHIC will give you some of the tips that you must consider in giving those upfront payments. But if they want it cash only or a hefty upfront payment, that's I encourage you to step away. And lastly, if they're saying we'll do the work for you and we've got a financing firm that we would like to run through, and they will give you the cash to cover this home improvement work, please step away from that. We want you to use who you research, who you need, and not who they are recommending, because they may have an affiliation with that firm that they are encouraging. So really be cautious of that. So those are just a few of the warning signs whenever you are approached with what potentially may be a scammer who's looking to defraud you out of payment and not do the service or the work that they do is actually really shoddy. So tips to consider when you're hiring any contractor. Let me start with #1, do your research. Before you sign a contract, please do your research. Now, what does that mean? Well, I'm going to say always go to bbb.org. In your web browser, put the name of the company, BBB. Their BBB profile will come up, and we have 50,000 businesses in the greater Maryland region that we produce that information. And so we want you to do your research. Another thing you do is just simply take that business name, put in your web browser, and write the word scam, complaints, reviews. Other information will come up. So I want you to really do your research before you hire anybody. If you're considering hiring a contractor, please ask for references. This is critically important. Obviously, in home services, if it's exterior work, you can actually drive by a reference and look at the work that was done, and do you feel comfortable about it? If you have references, I want you to ask about, did they stay on time? Were they within budget? Did they come back with any additional work requests? Ask a lot of questions, not about just were you satisfied with the work that was done, but get some background about how that contractor performed for that individual and the family, meeting their needs. And we always say, please get multiple quotes. Don't just rely on one home improvement company to come in and do your repairs for you. Please, please, please get multiple quotes. And when you do, make sure you're comparing apples to apples. That if they give you a quote on, we want a quote on materials, labor, time, all of those different elements, and you want to be able to compare them. And I always want to say to anybody, please don't assume the lowest bid is your best bid. BBB really can say frequently, sometimes you get what you pay for, and the lowest bid does not mean it's from the most reputable, the most trustworthy, the business that's going to deliver, or it could be from a business that's going to cut corners in quality materials, workmanship, things like that. And get everything that is said during your conversation with the contractor, get it in writing. Again, Maryland Home Improvement Commission, Mr. Finneran is going to give you a lot of tips about what is included in that contract, but we want you to make sure that contract has everything in writing. Now, a couple of things I want to encourage you to think about in your contract. You want to make sure, is it a firm close date, will have the job done in this period of time, or is it open-ended? Because projects do run into challenges and issues with today's challenges with getting supplies and employees. We are seeing some homeowner contract or some home contractors are really challenged with delivering in a time-sensitive way. And it's not always their fault. So please be aware of that in this in this post-COVID era that I'm going to say that we're in, because I remain very optimistic. I want you to make sure in your contract you have a payment schedule, and you know that you don't want to make payment in full, that last payment, until you've reviewed everything and it is good to go, and you get a receipt that says paid in full. I want you to ask, who has access to your property? When a contractor comes on, will there be subcontractors? What is the background search? Because you've got to protect your family, your neighbors. So who is actually authorized to come onto your property when they are doing the service? And again, you want to look at time and material and that information. And lastly, I mentioned, in you're getting it in writing, make sure that you have a termination clause. Under what terms and conditions can you end the contract, or could they, your contractor, end that contract? So those are some basic tips for hiring a contractor. And next slide. Verify license and insurance. I cannot say how important that is to protect you as a consumer, as a homeowner. And again, Maryland Home Improvement Commission is going to explain to you why that's so important. Confirm who is getting building permits. Usually it's your contractor. Make sure that there is agreement that those permits will be pulled when appropriate. Ask them about any kind of waiver in which they are clearly stating to you that all their subcontractors, everybody they deal with, have been paid. Ask, of course, about insurance as well, and any warranty that comes with the materials. If you're building a deck, make sure that those supplies or the siding or the windows, what warranties the manufacturer provides, as well as that contractor. So those are some really important things to keep in mind before you sign that contract. Next, arrange a payment schedule. I mentioned that. Cancellation fees, get a receipt paid in full, and keep your contract in hand. One of the things I always say is, once you have that contract, scan it, save it with documents in the cloud, put a copy into a safe or a safe place so that you have it for the years to come, including if and when you were to sell your property, you have that information. It's really important to keep. So don't ever lose that contract either. Must-dos. In the case of damage to your home, act promptly, mitigate loss. So if there is storm damage, cover things up. If there's flood damage, we want to go out and check our fuel tanks if that's appropriate. But we want to act promptly and mitigate damage. But on the other hand, don't be in a hurry for repairs because you need to get the bids, you need to do your research, you need to make sure you're hiring somebody trustworthy. So don't be in too much of a hurry. Don't let your emotions really take hold, and you may not be as clear thinking in who you select. In home damage, make sure you are mitigating moisture. Moisture builds and creates mold, and for those individuals, asthma or allergies, that really can create health hazards. So you want to control the moisture in your home. When damage occurs, take photos. Take photos as a contractor is building along the way, so you always have this proof. But if damage occurs, please contact your insurance provider immediately. And those photos and all this information that you have is really important. But whatever you do, don't start repairs until you get to your insurance provider immediately and first. So other red flags that came to mind at tree services. While Maryland Home Improvement Commission covers so many things that are logical and reasonable, and a few things that I wouldn't have thought of, like landscaping, if for true landscaping, not just mowing service, but landscaping services. If you have fallen trees and you look to tree services, there are some things we want to remind you. When they talk about lion's tailing and they're going to just some of the work they're going to do, make sure you understand it, because they may be using some techniques to simply cut costs. If they're going to use climbing spikes on trees that are standing, that could cause damage to the tree. So you really have a lot of information to gather when we're just having somebody come in and do tree service. And we recommend you get that information from the Maryland Natural Resources. They actually have licensed tree experts, and that information is critically important to you as a consumer to make sure you're hiring the right provider for any tree services that you may need, particularly if a disaster occurs. And lastly, just a quick mention, let BBB help you. We have bbb.org as our website. It provides you access to business profiles and gives you the background information we have about a business, whether or not they're licensed, who owns the business, how long they've been in business, and we publish a rating, whether or not they're accredited, any complaints that have been filed against that business in the last 3 years, and the business's response to those complaints, as well as customer reviews. And something so many people don't know, BBB also will handle complaints that consumer files on a legitimate business in the anywhere, and you can use bbb.org to file that complaint. And we also have what we call alternative dispute resolution, and that's mediation and arbitration services to help you, the homeowner, come to a final resolution with a contractor. And sometimes this can help you defray costs of attorneys. It can also prevent public record of a court case, and saves you the time and effort of going to a small claims court by using BBB's alternative dispute resolution, mediation, and arbitration services. So we're a free service here for you, and happy to help you with your search to find a reputable contractor or to answer any questions. So I hope that was helpful, and thank you for this opportunity to share a little bit about BBB.
Thanks so much, Angie. That's great information. Next up, we have David Finneran from the Maryland Home Improvement Commission. You're muted. We can see you, Dave, but we can't hear you.
Thank you. Can you hear me now, Patty?
Yes, sir.
You can or can't? Yes.
Yes, I can hear you.
All right, very good. Good afternoon, everyone. Sorry for the glitch. Welcome to Lunch with Mia. My name's Dave Finneran. I'm the director of the Maryland Home Improvement Commission. The Home Improvement Commission is an agency under the Department of Labor. We're commonly known by the acronym MHIC. So today I hope to introduce you to who we are and what we do. The MHIC administers home improvement law. We're charged with licensing home improvement contractors and their sales staff to ensure that they meet minimum qualifications needed to obtain their license and provide home improvement services to consumers like you. There are about 33,000 licensed contractors and there are about 3,000 licensed salespersons currently. The other role of the Home Improvement Commission is to investigate homeowner complaints against both licensed and unlicensed home improvement contractors. Our mission is to foster professionalism and a high quality of workmanship throughout the home improvement industry. Our goal is to safeguard the consumer rights of homeowners. Next slide, please. Choosing a contractor. You have a renovation or remodeling project that you wish to make on your home or condominium. You start by projecting the budget that you wish to spend. What is the next step? Let's comparison shop. Obtain at least 3 estimates from contractors. Please find contractors that are willing to provide free estimates. It is not necessary for you to pay for an estimate. But be aware that the lowest estimate may not always be the best estimate to take. It may be the lowest price, but you need to compare the quality of materials being used and the scope of the work being performed. You should ask to see a copy of the contractor's license. If you enter into a home improvement contract with a licensed contractor, you will have the protections provided by home improvement law. We ask you to call the MHIC and check the licensing status of a contractor and request the contractor's complaint history so that you can make an informed decision. Ask for references. Friends and family that have used a contractor in the past may be a good reference. Choose a contractor that is skilled in the project you wish to perform. Don't choose a flooring contractor if you wish to install a new roof. Choose a contractor that's right for you. Next slide, please. Do not enter into a verbal contract. Always get the contract in writing. I'm going to put an emphasis on that. I know Angie, Ms. Barnett, the Better Business Bureau also mentioned this, but let's put an exclamation point on that one. We have too many experiences where contractors have been told the homeowner that they're going to do one thing and then delivered to the homeowner something entirely different. So I'm going to say it again. Let's always get that contract in writing. Look for the contractor's trade name and MHIC number on the contract. The contract must include the total amount paid and the payment schedule. Never pay cash. Keep good records. Let's start a separate file when you start a project, and let's keep all your documents in that file. Home improvement law states that a contractor may not accept a deposit may not accept more than a deposit that's equal to 1/3 of the total contract price. The deposit amount is a negotiable item, but still may not exceed that 1/3 of the total price. Agree to a reasonable payment schedule. Don't let the payments get too far ahead of the work being performed. Agree to start and finish dates, and let's put those finish dates on a contract as well. A successful project begins with a well-written contract that spells out all expectations for both parties. Carefully read the contract before signing. Seek the advice of a contract attorney for your own protection. Next slide, please. The Door-to-Door Sales Act. You have a right to cancel a signed home improvement contract. The contract must have additional information in the contract, including a notice that states you may cancel this transaction at any time prior to midnight of the 5th business day or midnight of the 7th day if the buyer is at least 65 years old after the date of the transaction. A separate notice of cancellation form must be attached to a contract and filled in with the information about how to cancel that contract. Next slide, please. Complaints. If you have a contractor that didn't perform well, the work may have been unsatisfactory, or the contractor just simply abandoned the job, we ask that you file a complaint with the MHIC. You may call or request a complaint form and download a complaint form online. Complaint forms must be in writing and contain your original wet signatures. Send copies of all supporting documents, and you must keep a copy for your records. We will need a copy of the contract, a narrative from you describing the situation, photos, any supporting documents, anything that may be relative. Your complaint will then be assigned to an MHIC investigator. The investigator will offer mediation, an opportunity for both parties to state their position before an independent agency such as the Better Business Bureau. If the parties cannot come to a mutual resolution, the investigator may send you a claim form and ask you to provide an estimate to complete or correct your project provided by another MHIC licensed contractor. You may be eligible to file a claim against the MHIC Guarantee Fund. Next slide, please. The Maryland Home Improvement Commission administers a guarantee fund, which exists to reimburse homeowners for an actual loss caused by a licensed contractor who performed a home improvement job in an unworkmanlike, incorrect, incomplete, or abandoned the home improvement job. The fund is supported by licensed contractors who pay a guarantee fund assessment when they obtain their home improvement license and each time they renew their license. The homeowner may file a guarantee fund claim to seek monetary compensation from the guarantee fund. Maximum recovery you can claim for a claim against the guarantee fund is $20,000 per homeowner, or the amount the homeowner paid to the contractor against who the claim is made, whichever is less. It should be noted that if a contractor initiates arbitration against a homeowner based upon a contract that is the subject of the guarantee fund claim, then the MHIC will close this claim until the arbitration is concluded. In short, if you have an arbitration clause in your contract, you will need to invoke arbitration before a claim may move forward. If you entered into a home improvement contract with an unlicensed contractor, you will not have the protections of home improvement law. The MHIC may file criminal charges against an unlicensed contractor if the investigator has enough evidence to identify the contractor and has enough evidence to provide the state's attorney along with a proof of payment. We understand that the elderly may fall victim to unlicensed contractors, can be placed in a very vulnerable position. Unscrupulous contractors may steal the life savings of an elderly person that has put their trust into this individual. We had a case where a daughter brought her mother to our MHIC counter and told us a story about how the contractor repeatedly took her mother to the ATM to withdraw cash for services that were never performed. And due to this, and in the news recently, you've seen the tornado event in the South that shows that anyone may be put in a position where you may need a contractor at a moment's notice. We're here to help. Reach out to us. Our staff will provide you with all the information we can to make sure that your project goes the way you intended it to. And it was a pleasure to address everyone. And that concludes we put our contact information up on the screen. So feel free to contact us. Happy holidays, everyone.
Thanks so much, Dave. Next up is Jeff Gross from the Maryland Insurance Administration to talk about public adjusters.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Jeff Gross. I'm the Chief Enforcement Officer for the Producer Enforcement Unit. And today we're going to talk a little bit about the public adjusters. So first, the Maryland Insurance Administration, we are a government agency, state agency, and we regulate insurance in the state of Maryland. And part of the regulation is dealing with complaints. But so there is a consumer protection angle to it. But as the regulator, we license insurers and insurance producers, which most of you call agents or brokers. We also license public adjusters. We examine the business practices of all licensees to make sure they're in compliance. We monitor the solvency of insurers. We review forms and rates, and we will investigate the consumer and provider complaints and any allegations of fraud. If you feel that your insurance insurer or insurance producer have done something wrong or acted improperly, you can file a complaint. Some examples of improper actions would be improperly denying or delaying a payment on all or portions of a claim, improperly terminating your insurance policy, raising your insurance premiums without proper notice, making a false statement to you in connection with selling you a insurance policy or when you make a claim, or overcharging you for services, including premium finance charges. A public adjuster is a person who, for compensation, acts on the behalf of the insured in negotiating and settling a first-party property insurance claim. So what that means is they will take a fee for helping an individual or a business file a claim with the insurance company. Now, many consumers, they can resolve their property claims on their own, but sometimes consumers or businesses, they decide that they want or they prefer to have a public adjuster handle the insurance claim on their behalf. Big thing to remember is the public adjuster works for you, not your insurance company. Your public adjuster will communicate with the company adjuster who works for the insurance company. Licensed public adjusters will give advice and assist the consumer with their claim in the process of negotiation with their insurance company. After you file a claim with your homeowner's insurance company, your company sends an insurance adjuster to your property. The company adjuster will look at the damage and estimate the cost of the repairs. After they complete that, and based on what your policy says, the insurance company will offer a dollar amount to settle your claim. If you hired a public adjuster at this point in the process, the public adjuster will make sure that the company adjuster accounted for everything and will negotiate with the insurance company about the amount of the settlement. So once you've filed insurance claim, the insurance company issues you a check for your settlement. The public adjuster will take their fee from the settlement check or checks and give the remaining portion to you. Under Maryland law, a public adjuster must disperse the funds within 15 business days. So the fee for the public adjuster comes directly from that settlement check from the insurance company. The amount of public adjuster fee is negotiable, and the amount is not set by law. It will typically be expressed in a percentage. The public adjuster's fee reduces the amount of money you will receive to pay for the damages to your property as a result of the loss. The public adjuster can be named as a co-payee on the settlement check, but a public adjuster contract may not require the insurer's claim check to be made out only in the name of the public adjuster. And the public adjuster can't collect the entire fee from the first check issued by an insurance company if multiple checks are going to be issued. They'll only be able to take their fee, whatever the contract says, the percentage from each individual check one at a time. The 5 things you should consider before you're hiring a public adjuster. Public adjuster is selling you a service that is not required for the insurance company to process your claim. It's your decision whether or not you hire this public adjuster. Number 2, a public adjuster is required to be licensed in Maryland. You can go to our website, which is listed there, insurance.maryland.gov, to confirm that your public adjuster is licensed in Maryland. They must have a Maryland license. They can't be licensed in Florida and do a claim in Maryland unless they are licensed in Maryland. The third thing is a public adjuster can be hired at any time in the claims process. You may want to consider hiring a public adjuster if you're unsatisfied after receiving an initial offer from your insurance company. It is likely, but again, you have to read the contract, that the fee charged will only be a percentage of the difference between the old settlement offer and the new settlement offer. The fourth thing you should consider is make sure you understand the fee the public adjuster will be charging you. The licensed public adjuster will always charge for their services, and that fee will be specified in the contract. You're responsible for the fee. The insured is responsible for the fee, not the insurance company. In average in Maryland, public adjuster fees range from 15 to 35% of the settlement amount of your claim. So to give you a couple examples, a $10,000 claim with a public adjuster fee of 15%, at the end, you're only going to receive $8,500 for your claim. If the fee is 35% on that $10,000 claim, then you're only going to receive $6,500. And the fifth thing to consider is, or to keep in mind, is you are always responsible for the deductible listed on your policy. So unsolicited contact from a public adjuster, and we'll see this with people going door to door, as you may have heard mentioned a few minutes ago. They may say something like, worked on your neighbors, helps your neighbor out, or there's claims in the neighborhood. But if you receive unsolicited contact from a public adjuster, if you're interested in the service, check for the license, as we talked about before. A general contractor without a public adjuster's license cannot negotiate a claim with your insurance company. Stay with and observe the public adjuster while they inspect your damage. The public adjuster should be asked to leave a copy of the public adjuster contract, and take your time reviewing the contract before any decision is made to hire the public adjuster. Somebody said a few minutes ago that they try to build the sense of urgency and rush and hurry up. And that's when you should take your time. You don't need to sign it in that second at your front door. Take all the time you need to read the public adjuster contract and understand it. Ask questions. And with all contracts, it should be viewed carefully line by line before signing it. Once you sign the contract, Maryland law allows you 3 days to cancel. Maryland law also tells us that if your insurance company pays or commits in writing to pay the policy limit of your insurance policy within 72 hours after the time of loss is reported, a public adjuster may not receive a commission consisting of a percentage of the total amount paid by the insurance company to resolve the claim. The public adjuster may be entitled only to reasonable compensation from you for services the public adjuster provided on behalf of the insured. Public adjusters do not determine who you use as a contractor, nor can their contract legally state that you must use a specific contractor. If they help you find a contractor, they must specify in the public adjuster contract how much compensation, if any, they will receive from that contractor. Your public adjuster can assist you in finding temporary housing, but it may be more expensive to you than having your insurance company arrange your temporary housing. The cost of your temporary housing do matter to you because your homeowner's insurance policy likely has a cap on it on those additional living expenses for temporary housing and associated costs. Maryland law does require certain items to be listed in the contract. A consumer should make sure that the contract includes the fee being charged, the name, address, and license number of the public adjuster, and any payment that the public adjuster will receive in addition to the fee being charged. So if you've hired a public adjuster and you believe you have a problem or they're violating the law, remember first that you only have 3 days to cancel your contract. unless the contractor grants you additional time. And if you can't reach the public adjuster or you have another complaint, there's a couple ways you can get a hold of the Insurance Administration. You can send an email to enforcement.mia@maryland.gov, or you can go onto our website, insurance.maryland.gov, and click on File a Complaint, and then look for the Insurance Professionals Complaint Form and fill that out and submit it to us. Once you submit, you can submit the form to us by email, regular mail, and our address is Maryland Insurance Administration Enforcement Unit, 200 St. Paul Place, Suite 2700 in Baltimore, Maryland, 21202. And, thanks for listening to me, and look forward to hearing some questions.
Thanks a lot, Jeff. So I'm going to begin our Q&A session right now. And we are also going to put a survey in the chat, which if you wouldn't mind, we would appreciate getting feedback when you see the survey come up in the chat. It's just going to be questions about how did you find us, and also what other topics for these Lunch with Mia's would interest you going forward into 2022. So with that, I'm going to start the Q&A. It looks like the first question is about public adjusters. This says, I've seen contractors write into a contract that the customer waive the right to a trial jury and also require that I can only sue them for the amount of the contract. Is this legal? Is this something that you could understand and answer, Jeff?
So
I can clarify the question if need be.
Should probably clarify, because there's not really something that I can answer just by the question.
Yeah, sure. So some interesting language that I'm seeing pop up in even employment contracts, but I did some research into it, and contractors and even employers are writing into contracts with, when someone accepts a job offer, or even when I just recently had a contractor who doing some work on my property, reputable contractor, but I was surprised that they wrote into the as part of the conditions that if this, if something were ever to happen and it would go to court, that I would waive my right to a trial by jury. And from what I've seen in some of the literature online, is that you're almost waiving a constitutional right for a trial by jury. And it's come up in certain cases, when there has been disputes, but I don't know at the state level, at the Virginia or Maryland level, if that's legal. And then the second point is that I'm also seeing that language limiting the amount of loss before you even have the work done. So if a contractor does any damage, it says in the contract that I can only sue them for the amount of the work. And so right from the outset, it's kind of limiting the ability for the customer to, one, receive a trial by jury and perhaps a better settlement, and number two, limiting the amount of award to just what the contract amount is. And it just kind of raises a red flag, two red flags in my opinion.
So this is Joy Hatchett, the Associate Commissioner here at the Maryland Insurance Administration. And I can only speak for the Maryland Insurance Administration. And that's the type of legal advice that we would not be in a position to give you. What we would recommend is, if you're concerned about the specific terms and the limitations on your right to ask for a jury trial, that you should probably take that contract to an attorney and have an attorney review that contract for you, because that really goes beyond the area of expertise and the type of advice that the Maryland Insurance Administration can provide.
Okay, yeah, I appreciate that. I heard a couple references to the law in terms of down payments, and so I guess the thrust of my question is, does the group of presenters know any specific laws that are at the state level that specifically forbade this behavior, but I can certainly do that.
Thanks, Neil. The next question was from Kendra. Yes, Kendra, this recording is going to be available to the public. We'll be posting it on our website in the next couple days. As well as the PowerPoint slides. I believe we would also be posting the PowerPoint slides to the website as well. If that is incorrect, if somebody can correct me. All right, those will be posted as well. So the next question, when filing a claim with my home insurance company for work to be completed, should I authorize them to directly pay the contractors, or should I pay the contractors myself from the policy payout funds? And does anybody want to take that one?
I think it would maybe the home improvement commissioner, I know, but as far as the insurance administration, when when it comes to collecting your money, if you have a public adjuster, make sure you get your money. The public adjuster is required to be dispersed to you, and then you pay your contractors. But I wouldn't be able to answer if you do not have a public adjuster involved.
All right, so I'm going to go to the next question then. I hired a public adjuster who recommended a contractor and said the contractor would absorb his fee, but neither public adjuster or contractor would put it in writing. Can the public adjuster come back and request payment from us later?
Well, that goes kind of builds on what I just mentioned, that when you hire that public adjuster, it's there to negotiate the settlement of your claim. So he negotiates with the insurance, he or she negotiates with the insurance company. The check gets written, it goes to the public adjuster, probably requires your signature and the public adjuster's signature. Public adjuster takes their fee, gives you the balance, and then you pay the contractor. So I would be real cautious if something is written that the contractor is going to absorb the public adjuster's fee, because that's probably not specified in the contract what fee there is, and anything that the public adjuster receives beyond the fee that they're charging you needs to be specified in the contract. So I always take the view it's best to control the money that you get from the insurance company.
Thanks, Jeff. I just want to clarify that our website, www.insurance.maryland.gov, that is our website, and the recording and the slides will be available there. I don't see any other questions in the chat. So unless something comes up in the next minute or so, I'm going to consider the Q&A session to be complete. And I do want to encourage you to complete the survey that is in the chat as well.
I have a question if there's still time.
Go ahead, Neil.
Thank you. So I had a specific situation with a roofing contractor where they agreed to hire a public adjuster to, as in their words, keep the insurance company honest. And when the insurance company took a look at my roof, they would argue on my behalf, for a better claim. They said though that if they would pay the cost of the public adjuster, but then if I signed the contract, I would have to go with them in order to do the roof replacement. And I actually presented the contract to a lawyer who raised a lot of red flags. From your organization, is that something that's typically allowed, or is that something that it was right to just be hesitant about?
Well, nobody's allowed, you have to have a public adjuster license in order to solicit public adjuster services. That's first and foremost. So you have to be a licensed public adjuster. And if you recall, and I know we went through the slides a little fast, but a public adjuster is a person who is hired by the insured to negotiate with the insurance company on their behalf. So that's how the law defines what a public adjuster can do. And I would say that if it's something that's outside of those lines, you should be cautious of it.
Thanks, Jeff.
Oh, thank you.
And Patty, I have a question that was directed to just me. Does the Better Business Bureau have a pamphlet that contains the info covered in this presentation?
Wow, that's a great question because so much of what we do is online. I know we do have a pamphlet specific to the rules and the accessibility of arbitration and mediation. And our website includes tons of tips. If you simply go to your web browser and put in tips for BBB tips for hiring a contractor, BBB tips on disaster relief, put in a topic with the word BBB, all our tip pages will come up. So I can offer that. All our resources are primarily online anymore.
Thanks, Angie. It looks like a couple more questions did come in and we still do have a couple more minutes. Looks like another one for Jeff. Does the public adjuster help to determine who is responsible for a claim? For example, I have an issue where the homeowner association is denying responsibility and the insurance obtained by me is also denying responsibility and stated that it is the HOA responsibility.
No, a public adjuster is there just to help you negotiate your claim once you file it with your insurer. So if your insurer is denying responsibility and the HOA is denying responsibility, and I think maybe Joy can help with this, but I would say the first step would be to file a complaint with our property casualty complaints unit to see if they can help you, or to contact an attorney. That would be my suggestion to you.
Also, depending on what locality you live in, there are some of the counties that have homeowners associations within the county, and they may be able to assist you with your particular homeowners association. If you'd like to put your name and contact information in the chat, we can have someone reach out to you one-on-one and try to assist you.
All right. We have a couple more questions that came in. This one doesn't look like it's for anybody in particular, the panelists. I don't know if Jeff wants to take it or not, but I know Joy can take it. I've never made a claim to my insurance company for 19 years, but made one 2 years ago for a new roof. Immediately, my policy increased. Is this legal?
That is going to depend on your particular policy terms. Insurance companies, based on their underwriting guidelines, may increase the amount of premium charged based on a variety of reasons. If you believe, however, that the increase is inappropriate, feel free to file a complaint with us, and we will look at the particular circumstances to determine if, in fact, that increase was done in accordance with Maryland law.
Thanks, Joy. Angie, is the Better Business Bureau the place to file a review for a public adjuster's questionable practices? Actually,
Thank you. I was attempting to answer it in the grid, but really quick, yes, BBB accepts complaints and reviews, and you can do that through bbb.org, O-R-G, because many people don't know where a business is located. So whether it's Virginia, Delaware, Pennsylvania, anywhere, bbb.org. And yes, we do accept reviews. Reviews are typically for your information only. If you were seeking some kind of resolution of a dispute, I would encourage you to file a complaint.
And I wanted to add to that is that in the past, we've found people who have put complaints on the BBB's website for people that we are investigating. And then we've reached out to the BBB and asked them to contact that person who made the complaint and put us in contact with them so we can add them and talk to them during our investigation. So it's worked well in the past. And if there's again, if you think that they're breaking the law, the public adjuster is doing something questionable and maybe breaking the law, then you can always contact us also.
Thanks, Angie. Thanks, Jeff. Neil, your question is the 1/3 of work deposit law, also the law in VA. I would say that there's probably no one on this panel comfortable with making comments about the laws in Virginia. And then I have one more question. Is the Better Business Bureau a private agency and paid by contractors?
We are a 501c3. We are this BBB is 105 years of age. And as a 501c3, we are a nonprofit. We're just not a charitable nonprofit. So, and the question, are we paid by contractors? Any business can apply for accreditation. We have 3,000 accredited businesses, but they range from CPA firms, law firms, to contractors, to marketing agencies. They're not one specific. Accreditation fees are separate of ratings, complaints, reviews. They are actually where a business completes our application and submits all required information indicating they meet our 8 standards of trust, and they are able to use our seal, the BBB logo, which is in essence giving our confidence in them to operate in a trustworthy manner. So no, we are not funded or paid by contractors. We are a 501c3, and we've been around for 105 years.
Thanks, Angie.
Sure.
So it's 1 o'clock. So I need to wrap this up. I want to remind you again about the survey, and I just want to thank you for being here today for this lunch with Mia. This concludes our events at the MIA for the calendar year, but please join us in January. In January, we have a lunch with Mia about Health Heart on January 13th. And then on January 19th, we also have a lunch with Mia where we're going to talk about health insurance issues using different scenarios to help you understand the issues. And so I just want to thank the presenters and all of our attendees for joining us today, and everyone have a great holiday season. Thanks so much.
you.
Bye.